Well, chapter 13 today. This one's titled Handling Emergencies. There's 5 lessons. I don't have anything highlighted in this chapter, so that might get through a little quicker. First one is vehicle malfunctions, a tire failure. So it talks about a blowout. This is when the tire immediately loses all the air. It's not a slow leak. It either pops or just loses air very quickly. So it says grip steering wheel firmly, ease up on the accelerator, don't use a lot of brake, check traffic, get out of the traffic, drive off the road slowly, braking gently, turn on your hazard flashers. Then changing a tire. It's not really very difficult, and for most new cars or newer cars, there's probably some instructions somewhere in the trunk or wherever the spare tire is kept. The spare tire is usually what they call a donut. It's just a smaller tire. You can see that in page 251. There's a picture of the little tire. These tires are just for you to get to the service station or wherever you're going and get it changed. They don't recommend driving on it for a long time because you want to have that back in the car to use the next time. And they're not recommended to go over 50 or 60 miles an hour. But very basically, most are going to be the same routine of changing the tire. So the first thing you want to do is locate the spare and the jack and any tool. Usually it used to be called a tire jack, a tire iron, sorry. Anyway, with the tire still on the ground, you want to take off the hubcap if you need to, and then loosen the lug nuts. Just turn them until they're loose. Now you can put the jack underneath and get it off the ground. If you look in the picture, if it's a car like that, the jack looks like this, and then you start turning it and it does this. It's kind of like a scissor jack, okay? But it has to be in the right location in order for that to work. So make sure you're doing it correctly, put it in the right spot. Once it's up off the ground, then you can take the lug nuts off, take the tire off, put the spare, the donut back on, put the lug nuts on, finger tight, okay? And then put the tire iron on and just tighten them a little bit with the tire iron, but you don't want to go around a circle. You want to do it in kind of a star pattern, here, just kind of alternate around. Get them snug, and then when you get it back onto the ground, then you can put some pressure on the wrench and get them tight. Okay, brakes. Again, total brake failure, I don't know how often that happens. If you are feeling like, this isn't stopping as much as it should be, have it checked out. We had a van that we own do that, and we took it in, and there was a problem in the brake system on one tire, and there was brake fluid leaking all over the place, so it wasn't stopping like it should. I could tell something was wrong. But if your brakes fail, it recommends pumping the brake pedal to see if you could build up any pressure. You can downshift to a lower gear. It says to pull and hold the parking brake, release lever, or hold the parking brake button. Apply the parking brake. You can quickly release the parking brake for a moment if the vehicle begins to skid. Search for a safe place to steer toward. As a last resort, rub the wheels against a curb to reduce speed. If a collision is unavoidable, steer for a side swipe rather than colliding head-on into something solid. So, if you're headed towards a tree, it recommends turning sideways to get a glancing blow, or a car coming towards you, turn to the side rather than hit it head-on. If you have the option of driving off the road, look for something that you could run into. Maybe bushes. Don't run into a big tree. Smaller trees, bushes, if there's a side hill, kind of go into that. Anything you can do to get the speed down. Engine failure. Again, hopefully that's not anything that really happens a lot. Shift into neutral. Begin moving out of traffic. Again, if you get it off to the side, put the flashers on, and then try to get help. Stalling on railroad tracks, we did talk about that with chapter 10. Here's the one picture. Obviously, if you look at that on page 254, that's even pretty bad photoshopping, but so the person has left the car, and you can see they're running in the direction of the train, but of course off the tracks at an angle away. That way the car doesn't get hit and knocked into you. Okay, an overheated engine. Overheating is probably one of the major problems that your car could have. So if it starts to heat up, turn off the air conditioner, turn on the heater. That'll draw some heat out of the engine compartment. During stop, shift to neutral, press the accelerator gently to speed up the engine slightly. If temperature light stays on, or if the gauge points to hot, move to a safe place, turn off the engine, and let it cool down. Do not add water to the radiator until the engine has cooled. Steam can escape and cause severe burns. So I think I talked about this, where be careful opening up that radiator cap or the bottle, the little reservoir in the engine compartment. And once it's cooled, then you can take care of those things. Steering failure, again, another thing that hopefully this just does not happen often. I mean, if you lose complete steering, you're in bad shape. Just get the car stopped. Loss of forward vision. Maybe you're driving in heavy rain or snow, and water just piles up onto the windshield. Somebody drives through mud. I don't know, a number of different things could happen. But wipers, turn them on high speed. Try to get it as clean as possible. I don't know if this is the particular one that talks about if the hood flies up. So if it comes up, a lot of people think, oh, look out the window. But the best thing to do, the hood is not going to open like this. It will open like this. And so there's a little gap underneath. You can look underneath as you drive and get it off the road and slow down and stop. Okay, vehicle fires. Now we had a couple here at the school. Again, this is one of those situations, I don't know if I've already talked to your group about it or if it was a previous term, but anyway. So we had a situation behind our old gym. There was a car parked and it was full of smoke. It happened to be a boy who played quarterback, and Coach Sheriff came along and saw it. And he was very concerned, thinking that Tanner was in the car. However, he wasn't, but so he called the police, fire engine. They came down, got it taken care of. Something had kind of smoldered in the engine compartment and eventually started on fire. I remember looking at it with the hood up, and there was kind of a really clean area where it had started. So, but the car was totaled. The windshield was cracked, the dash was all ruined, smoke filling the whole thing. A lot of the engine was, plastic parts ruined. So, pretty serious. The other one, there was a car. Mr. Teeples found this one. Noticed a little smoke in the passenger compartment. Came in, called, because you don't want to open it up and have more air get in. And anyway, I hope none of you know about this, but they found a pop can with some mysterious holes in it. Apparently, kids, anyway, somebody was trying to smoke something in a pop can with holes in it. I don't know anything about that, but anyway, the student that owned the car, they said they had just bought it like a couple of days before that. So anyway, okay, number 2, driver errors. So if you have a problem and you need to get off the road, okay, stay off the gas, stay off the brake, just let it, slow down on its own. Grip the steering wheel, slide over to the side. You can read through the list there. Avoid or be aware of off-road obstructions that you might have a problem with, and you want to be able to get back on once you do get off. Emergency swerving. Again, at a high speed, if you really crank on that steering wheel, it's going to flip your car. So be very careful. Some pictures here where a situation where the car might have to swerve. So, go around a car, an object. So you can see there's a box and the car is putting its brake lights on, so the car behind is having to move over. Okay. All right, number 3, some roadway hazards. There's potholes. We used to call them chuck holes. Some of those can be very bad, and they can cause damage to your car. They can bend rims, wheels, throw your car out of alignment. So, try to avoid them at all costs. If you have any object on the road, don't hit it. Try to avoid it. Look in your mirrors, check for cars around, and try and go around those types of things. And if you do hit something and there are other cars around and they might be responsible, stop and visit with them, because if you drive off and found you have damage, there's nothing you can do about it. But if somebody is responsible, their insurance will take care of that. Again, driving around a sharp curve. So the picture on 261, just the yellow sign just is warning you that, hey, you're approaching a curve. You don't need to alter your speed because there's no additional sign that says the speed. And sharp curve, same thing. Just, hey, you're approaching that, be aware. So, vehicle in deep water, again, we talked about that already with driving through water, so we'll move on from that. On 262, notice there's a box. So anything that's in the road like a box, a cardboard box, you might think, oh, that's not going to hurt my car. But please do not run over it. Drive around it. There might be somebody's pet. It even could be a child. If the box is big enough, a child could be out there playing in it. So never drive over a box. Or this situation has happened to somebody here in our area. It's been quite a few years ago. They had twin boys and they were playing in a pile of leaves. And somebody coming down the road saw this pile of leaves. And they're like, oh, hey, a pile of leaves, let's go drive through it. Well, they drove through it. Don't know if they realized they had hit these 2 boys, but it killed one of the boys. The other one survived. So never drive through those obviously you don't know what's there, so don't do it. Okay, collisions. Again, a head-on collision, if it's imminent, and these are some things you can do to try to avoid that, okay? Maintain control, brake hard, don't lock the wheels, honk your horn, flash your lights, steer toward the shoulder. If you can see that you're going to have a rear-end collision, hopefully you have room in front of you in the next car. Right at the last minute, if you think the car's going to hit you, let your car go forward just a foot or two, and that'll minimize some of the impact. Okay. Anyway, make sure to read through those lists. Side impact collision. If you have the room to, brake or give it some gas and maybe get out of the way, or at least have it so it hits the front or back of the car rather than passenger compartment. Because if it hits front or back, nobody's there obviously, but also it will move the car. The car will give. If you hit it right in the center, okay, it takes the full impact. If you have a collision, then stop immediately, give aid to the injured. Never move an injured person unless there is danger of fire or other collision. So people got to the point where they thought, you know what, I don't want to take the chance and I don't want to stop and help, because it had happened before where somebody stopped, gave aid to the injured, that person ended up dying anyway, and then they were sued for what they did. And so people just stopped stopping and helping. There's now a law called the Good Samaritan Law. If you are trying to help this person in good faith, in good, conscious effort, you can't be sued for what you did if they die. Prevent further damage. Again, if you can get the car off, use flashing lights, call the police, have them come and they can help out. You need to exchange information, licenses, license plates, registration, those kinds of information. Hopefully once you get the police there, they'll also help you do that. And any reports that need to be filed with your insurance or whatever, make sure to do those. Okay, number 5, insurance, and we've talked about this one a little bit. There's a financial responsibility law. So as you drive a car, you have to have insurance. The very basic one is, they call it no fault or liability insurance, where if I hit into somebody and it's my fault, then that insurance would take care of their car and any injuries they sustained. It won't do anything for me. It won't pay anything for me. You can buy insurance that's better, and you should have it, okay? That is called collision insurance, and it will take care of their car problems plus yours. But usually you'll have a deductible of some kind. If you have a $2,000 accident, you might pay $500 of that accident. That's called your deductible, and then they would take care of the other $1,500. If you have a higher deductible, insurance premiums, that's the amount you pay every month, might be a little bit lower. If you have a low deductible, then your premiums would probably be higher because you're expecting the insurance company to pay for more of the loss. Okay, you can read that information there on insurance. Vehicle insurance, there's a whole chart there. The different types of coverage. Coverage includes minimums, information. How do they figure insurance rates? Well, your driving record. If you're a good driver, you probably won't have as high a premiums. How old you are. So if you're 16 years old, that might be a little more costly. The number of miles you drive. If you don't drive very much, obviously you're not gonna pay much. So with what's going on right now, I think it was State Farm was saying they're gonna start refunding premiums because people aren't driving, therefore people aren't having accidents. So the premiums that are coming in, they have extra money at the insurance company. Driver's gender, okay? Sorry, boys, you're gonna pay more, or your parents will pay more for insurance than for girls. Doesn't mean that boys are terrible drivers and girls are perfect drivers. It just means that boys tend to drive more and tend to take more chances. Maturity level is different for boys and girls at the same age. Boys tend to mature later. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Marital status, if you're married, that helps reduce it to the type of vehicle you drive. If you drive a 1995 Saturn versus a 2020 Corvette, you can see there's going to be a definite difference in insurance. Where you live, if you live in the big city, a lot of traffic, that might cost you more than out in Flowell, for example. And driver's claim record. If you've claimed accidents already and you have more, if you have another one in a short time, you might pay more for your insurance from that point on. Okay? So quickly, I need to remember to do this, but on page 273, I'm going to read the preparing for the test questions, and I'll just read the answer. Stop in an emergency situation when your car does not have ABS brakes. You should, A, pump your brakes. Again, don't lock them up, but just pump them, and that will help. When a car with bright headlights comes toward you at night, you should, C, look toward the right edge of your lane. 3, when driving in adverse conditions, the proper speed to travel is D, only as fast as it is safe to drive. Okay, when you see this sign without a gate or signal, you should, C, pay attention and use good judgment. 5, always leave extra space in front of you when, D, and it's all of the above. Weather is hazardous, someone is following you closely, or you are following a motorcycle. 6, you should drive on the shoulder to pass a car. B, under no circumstance. 7, if you are involved in a traffic collision, you must report it. D, all of the above if someone is injured. If there is excessive property damage, no matter who is at fault. Yeah, never hit something and leave. That's a hit and run, and that's not good. 8, if you drive faster than other vehicles on a road with one lane in each direction and continually pass other cars, you will, D, create a risky situation for yourself and other drivers. Okay? So this is for Monday, and so chapter 13, this test will be on Wednesday, and it will be open book. Thank you.